Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is David, and this is episode 2425BN. Today's date is March 11th, 2021, and the title of the episode is Dan Scavino sends multiple messages, stage set, fear not, all will be right after the election. Let's talk about our health. A new study reveals that a tiny fish in the Amazon is able to survive piranha bites. Here's how. The three-striped cory, a small catfish, is able to survive multiple bites from piranhas completely unfazed. The secret lies inside its specialized scales. Scientists found that these fish are able to survive piranha bites due to their collagen in their unique scales. Just as collagen is the main protein that protects these fish, collagen is also possibly the most important protein inside us humans. Get multi-collagen for 51% off today by going to healthwithx22.com or click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, what's very interesting is that after the election, Trump and the Patriots, they went dark for a little while. And then CPAC came along and Trump spoke at CPAC. He changed his slogan from Make America Great Again to Save America, which I do believe we're in that phase where he's going to save it from the deep state. First, he made it great to show people what America could be, what it can do economically, socially. Then he allowed the deep state, the corrupt politicians, come in and reverse all of that. And he wanted the people to see this on purpose. He wanted the people to see how they're going to transform America. And to do this, he needed them to do it very, very quickly. And that's exactly what they've been doing. And people are seeing this. This is called the Great Awakening. And yes, we woke up during Trump's presidency. A lot of people woke up during his presidency, but a lot of people did not. A lot of people, yes, they voted for Trump. Yes, they liked Trump, but they were not fully woken up. And Trump knew this. The Patriots knew this. They knew they needed to wake the rest of America up. Now, am I saying it's going to be 100%? No, I've said this before. It's impossible to wake 100% of the people up. You're always going to have that small percentage that's going to stay asleep until the very, very end. They might wake up, they might not. But if you can get the majority of the people on both sides woken up, where they can see what's really going on, and they can start to question what is going on. Well, that's one way of returning the power to the people. And Trump and the Patriots, they knew this. This is why they didn't go out during his presidency and just arrest everyone. People would not understand this. First of all, the mainstream media, the deep state, they would fight back like crazy. We saw this during the pandemic. As soon as he mentioned hydroxychloroquine, what happened? Remember, the swamp is deep and wide. They have a lot of control. They had a lot of time to infiltrate the U.S. from within. This was like a little test. Let's see what they would do with this information. Would they let it slide? Would they try to stop it? How far would they go to make sure that the American people did not have hydroxychloroquine that would cure COVID, flu, and many other things? Yes, it was tested back in 2005. Yes, there's documentation that shows that it was tested, and it does cure these things. But he wanted to see how far they would go, how deep this swamp is, how wide it is, and what they would do to stop all of it from getting out. And he got his answer. He saw how the mainstream media reacted. He saw how the pharmaceutical company, the pharmacists, doctors, how they reacted to this. And he watched how they stopped the American people from getting the cure. He had his answer. He knew that if he just went in and he just started to arrest and started to unseal the indictments, what would the deep state, what would the mainstream media do? They would create a civil war during this period. They would create such chaos it would destroy America. And everyone that was wishing for this to happen, they don't understand the ramifications of what the deep state, the mainstream media, the corrupt politicians, what they would do to stop all this. Look what they did to stop hydroxychloroquine. They pulled the drug and they wouldn't allow doctors to prescribe it to their patients. So what do you think they would do if Trump and the Patriots started to arrest people? Because remember, the swamp, deep and wide. Would they pull out all the stops to create a civil war? Would they destroy America because they just don't care? Yes, he knew that. The people that were working with him, the military, they knew that. And Trump, he didn't want America destroyed. He didn't want Americans fighting Americans. He didn't want a civil war. He didn't want bloodshed. So there had to be another way. There had to be a way where he could drain the swamp, wake up the people, and render the deep state powerless because he had the support of the people. And what we're experiencing right now is that plan. Yes, he could have done it very, very quickly. Yes, he could have gone in and started rounding up people. But it wouldn't have turned out the way everyone thought. It would have been a disaster. And I do believe this is why Q has been telling us that this is not a sprint, but a marathon. Remember, the deep state, the central bank, over the many years, and what is it, 50, 60 years, they took that time to transform America. Yes, during Obama, it really went into high gear. But that at that point, they were able to do this. Trump, he only had a certain period of time. He didn't have 50 years. He didn't have 40 years. He doesn't have 30 years. He knew he was going to have to do this in the first 4 years, and now probably in the next, year, 2, maybe even shorter. But he knew he was going to have to put things into place first. He was going to need to show the people what the deep state was all about, what the central bank was all about, what the mainstream media was all about. And this is what we're experiencing right now. And the part of the plan that the Patriots decided to put into motion was to bring the power back to the people. And it wasn't just going to be given to the people. The people were going to have to take it. They were going to have to say no more. This is what the precipice is. Yes, you listening to this, you're there. You see it, you know it, you're done with it. Think about the rest of the country. They're not there yet. And this is why it's a marathon. And Trump, he needed to see the swamp. He needed to see the board. He needed to know who was with him, who was against him. And at every turn and everything that happens, he is able to do this. I mean, think about it. They just decided to confirm Merrick Garland. This is a disaster right there. And you can see the 20 Republican senators who voted to confirm Garland. Roy Blunt. Isn't it strange that he's retiring? Richard Burr. Shelley Capito. Bill Cassidy. Susan Collins. John Cornyn. Jody Ernst. Lindsey Graham. Chuck Grassley. Jim Einhoff. Ron Johnson. James Lackford. Mitch McConnell. Jerry Moran, Lisa Murkowski, Rob Portman, Mitt Romney, Mike Rounds, John Toon, Tom Tillis. These are the people that decided, you know something? This is the guy that we need in there to be Attorney General. Now remember, Garland, he failed the Supreme Court nominee under the Obama administration. He has a lengthy track record of supporting anti-Second Amendment legislation. Merrick Garland also claims that Antifa attacks on federal courthouses do not meet his standard, his definition of domestic terrorism, which he told everyone that, hey, if nobody's there, it's not domestic terrorism. People have to be in the courthouse, and it has to happen during certain hours. which is absolutely ridiculous. Garland also promised to use his authority as the highest-ranking law enforcement officer in the country to ensure respectful treatment of the pro-Biden corporate media. This guy is part of the swamp. Trump, he can see who's with him, who's truly with him, and who's against him, who's for the American people and who's against the American people. Remember, politicians are great at telling you what you want to hear, but actions, that speaks a lot louder than words. Now remember, Trump and the Patriots, they've told us the plan. Q has told us the plan. Remember, is this virus really about the virus or is it about the election? It's about the election. We'll be talking about that in just a moment. But since we're talking about the election and election fraud, we're seeing more and more things pop up. Now, remember, Trump, he's doing the exact same thing that they did to him back in 2016. They said that he cheated. There was election fraud. He worked with a foreign nation. Trump, didn't he just do the same thing? There's election fraud. They're working with foreign nations. The system is rigged. And what did social media, what did the mainstream media, what did the corrupt politicians do? Anyone that mentioned it, you were censored. They shut down it all. And they kept on calling it a hoax. It's not real. It's fake. Do you think he just set them up? Absolutely. He set them up to show the American people how they lie, how they try to protect their lie. And they'll go to any extreme to make sure that you don't find out that they're lying. Now, for those people that just wanted to go in and arrest everyone, look what they did with the election. Look how much control they have with social media companies, with the mainstream media, with the corrupt politicians, with the Dominion machines. Remember, the swamp is not just one little piece. It's their system. Their system of control. This is what Trump and the Patriots are breaking. This is what they're showing the people. And a lot of people say, well, a lot of people don't really believe in election fraud. Well, that's changing. So what have we seen so far? We've seen audits of certain machines, like in New Hampshire. The New Hampshire House Election Law Committee, led by Chairperson Barbara Griffin, unanimously voted to approve a forensic audit of Wyndham, their voting machines, and their ballots. And it appears that all of the concerns that have been publicly raised will be addressed. So we'll have to see how that turns out. We all also come to find out that 90,000 ballots in the largest Nevada county, they were sent to wrong addresses and they were bounced back. But if you look at what's happening right now, and this is very interesting. Yes, Trump was talking about election fraud. The mainstream media, the social media companies, the corrupt politicians, they were all saying it doesn't exist. Trump, he decided to take the power of the people and the power of the states to change things. What do we see happening? Well, in the swing states like Georgia, we also see states like Florida and other states, they're changing their laws where you need voter ID. And these are the legislatures. They're changing the laws. The people of these states are changing the laws. Actually, in Florida, the Florida Senate Committee approved a reworked election bill that would ban drop boxes used for mail-in ballots. They're also tightening up voter ID. And we're starting to see this happen on a state level. Isn't this what the founding fathers wanted? They wanted the power to come from the people, from their local communities, from the states on up, not from the federal government on down. Remember, the federal government, they were supposed to be the secretary of we the people. This is what we the people want in all these different states, and they were supposed to carry it out. They weren't supposed to dictate what they were going to do. Trump, he started this process, actually, if you remember, during the pandemic. He didn't dictate to the states. He allowed the states and the people to make their own decisions. The same thing is happening now with the election laws. The people of the states who saw this happen, they are deciding now that we need to change things. So the power is coming from the bottom up. And we're starting to see this in people that have nothing to do with Q or anything like that. They're starting to realize that there's a problem with the elections. Now, Ned Ryan tweeted this out. People are realizing that the 2020 elections were not exactly above board. And this is coming from Vanya Kopke. And it says, there is a rally on Friday. If you can make it, please do. And it says, as citizens of Green Bay, we need to trust our elected officials and believe in the integrity of the election process. As we are finding out, there were many shady dealings in regards to the fall election in Green Bay. 2 Democrats activists were overseeing many aspects of the election and had access to the absentee ballots prior to and on the day of 11/3 election. The mayor's office took over the election process and caused our city clerk, who is the one who is supposed to be overseeing the election process, to remove herself from the process due to her concerns regarding election integrity. Those concerns being from receiving partisan money through a grant to the involvement of Democratic activists from the East Coast. So people, they are gathering together now, and they are saying, yeah, there's something wrong with the elections. And we see this. We see this in Georgia. We see it in Wisconsin. We see it in Florida. We see it in many different states now where the power for change is coming from the bottom. I do believe that this is Trump's plan to change the system so this can never happen again. If you notice, a lot of these states are bringing in voter ID laws. Now, we know that Trump, the Patriots, they wanted the American people to see everything that's going on. This is why Trump tightened the border and made sure that it was secure, because he knew the playbook. He knew they were going to undo all of this. He knew they were going to create a crisis. He knew that it was going to be so big that you couldn't look away, that you had to ask a question. He knew the mainstream media was going to have to ask a question because there was a crisis like we've never seen before. Because remember, when Trump was president, those people in Central America, South America, they knew there was no way of getting into this country. They knew when Biden came aboard, they knew the borders would be open. Trump knew this. The Patriots knew that this was going to happen. They were planning on it. And now we have Jen Psaki, who's fielding questions, and people and the reporters are asking questions like, why are we having the borders open and allowing illegal children to come into the U.S. while the schools remain closed? She's finding it very difficult to answer these type of questions. She started to laugh about it, and Peter Doocy says it's not funny. Why is this happening? And if we really look at it, there are more kids now that are being put in cages for longer amounts of time under Biden than under Trump. But they're not calling this a crisis. Actually, they won't even allow cameras down there because they know if the media was allowed down there or anyone was allowed down there and they took video of this, it would be a complete and utter disaster. And this is why they're using COVID as their excuse of why nobody can go down there. Now, what's very interesting is that we know that Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of Texas, he is suing Twitter. Then Twitter turned around and said, all right, we're going to sue Ken Paxton. But Hans Mackey decided to tweet this out and look over the suits. And it seems that Twitter, they're going to be in a little bit of trouble here. And this is what Hans tweeted out. Twitter just scored several own goals in their lawsuit against Ken Paxton. Here's Twitter's openly admitting that they make editorial decisions, that these decisions have to be made in secret, and that Twitter is actually no different from a newspaper. Wow. And Twitter also admitted that they're relying on the First Amendment rights meant for the press. I thought this was an open platform and they were under 230. I didn't know they were the press and they have the ability to edit. That's interesting. Twitter also says it can't share information on their moderation process because that would undermine the moderation process. But here's the problem. Section 230 protection only applies to those acting in good faith. By hiding the process, we can't know if they're acting in good faith, can we? And Twitter, they allege that Trump's 2 tweets, they contained misinformation. Now, one of them has to do with the election. So let me read you the first one here. 75 million great American patriots who voted for me, America First, and Make America Great Again, will have a giant voice long into the future. They will not be disrespected or treated unfairly in any way, shape, or form. So how is that in misinformation? And then the other tweet is, to all those who have asked, I will not be going to the inauguration on January 20th. Well, didn't they come true? So how possibly are these tweets misinformation? Actually, Twitter is going to be screwed with this lawsuit. They are going to bury themselves because when you look at Section 230 and you look at what they've done, and when Ken Paxton digs in and discovers who they got rid of and who they didn't, and then starts looking at the terms of service, looking at the tweets, they're going to have a lot of explaining to do. And this is going to be very, very difficult. Now, what's very interesting is that the U.S. House, they just voted and passed a bill on major new gun control laws. And again, there are certain Republicans that went ahead with this. Now, this legislation, it's H.R. 8, sponsored by Representative Mike Thompson, and it passed 227 to 203. Now, H.R. 8 would expand retail point-of-sale background checks so as to cover private points of sale. This will criminalize an individual who sells a 5-shot revolver to a lifelong neighbor unless the neighbor first undergoes a National Instant Crime Criminal Background Check System, NICS. That's a NICS check, and that's conducted by the FBI. Now, without evidence, the sponsor, Thompson, is saying that the bill is supported by 90% of the American people. Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you right now, there's no way that 90% of the people are supporting this bill. But again, this is passed in the House. It's going to move to the Senate. And what does that mean? It means they're going to need some type of an event. Because just like with any other bill, gun control bill or any other bill, most of the time you need a crisis to really get this through. Let's talk about our health. A new study reveals that a tiny fish in the Amazon is able to survive piranha bites. Here's how. The 3-striped cory, a small catfish, is able to survive multiple bites from piranhas completely unfazed. The secret lies inside its specialized scales. Scientists found that these fish are able to survive piranha bites due to their collagen in their unique scales. Just as collagen is the main protein that protects these fish, collagen is also possibly the most important protein inside us humans. Get multi-collagen for 51% off today by going to healthwithx22.com or click the link in the description. Obama tried many, many times during his administration. This is why we saw so many mass shootings. He had the UN Arms Treaty just sitting there. And just lately, we've been seeing a lot of 4 a.m. talking points. And we read this yesterday about how there's so much mass shooting going on. And I do believe they're probably setting this up, and the mainstream media, they will go ahead and attach themselves to one type of an event and really, really push it. But really think about what they're doing here. They're pushing gun control legislation. They don't like walls, but are guns protecting them? Yes, it's called the National Guard. Did they build a wall in front of the Capitol around D.C. to protect them? Yes. So it's okay if they use guns. It's okay if they build walls. But for the people, you're not allowed to have it. Now, remember, the people, we have the Constitution. We have the Bill of Rights. We have the right to bear arms. And remember, bear arms means arms, any type of weapon. They didn't say bear muskets. They didn't say bear bow and arrows. They used arms on purpose because they knew that weapons change over time. They knew that had to do with ammunition. And this is why they used these terms. It had nothing to do with hunting. They knew that the people had a right to protect themselves from a tyrannical government. The founding fathers experienced all of this. This is why they put all of this into place. They did it on purpose. Now, what's very interesting with this pandemic, it seems that it's getting worse and worse for these governors that murdered elderly, disabled individuals. We see Whitmer right now. She's being sued because she will not release the nursing home data. And they're saying that, no, we can't release this information because it's private. And we're starting to see some lawsuits against them. The Mackinac Center Legal Foundation, they filed a lawsuit and they want this information. Of course, Whitmer, her administration is not going to hand it over. They're going to try to stop it from getting out there. We also know that she paid someone off so they wouldn't speak. That was part of her administration. We see the same thing with Cuomo. It's all starting to fall apart with these people. Now, we knew this going back to 2020 in May. We knew that these individuals knowingly put people into nursing homes and murdered them to get the death count up. Now, the investigations, yes, they might have informally started, but they didn't pick up steam until Trump was out of the picture. If you notice, the plan is really coming into focus now as Trump is no longer in the picture. They can't blame him for anything. And we've known the plan since the beginning. We knew that this virus was about the election. Look what happened right after Biden was inaugurated. Aren't states opening up? Look at West Virginia. Look at Connecticut. Look at New Jersey. Look at New York. Look at California. Look at all these states just magically opening up. Now we see Maryland, the governor, Larry Hogan. He lifts all capacity limits on restaurants, retail, and other businesses. Large venues may open up to 50% capacity. Oklahoma governor Kevin Stitt says he's removing statewide COVID-19 restrictions. Now, how did we know that this was about the election and this virus was not a pandemic? Remember, this pandemic was created by statistics, by the mainstream media. Look what has happened since the election. Look at the U.S. The cases have dropped dramatically, almost to zero. Look at the death count. It has dropped dramatically. It's falling like a rock. That's in the U.S. It's like a straight line down. Leading up to the elections, you see the cases were rising, the death count was rising, and then the WHO changed what? Their PCR test. They're not going to do as many cycles to test to see if you have COVID. And now, all of a sudden, as soon as they made that announcement, right after the inauguration, everything started to drop. Go out to the UK. There's a graph right there, shows the cases dropping like a rock, the death count dropping like a rock. Go out to Canada, the same thing. Now, we knew about this plan. We knew that this was going to happen. Remember, Trump is clearing the board now. He's allowing them to do this for him. He knew that they created this out of thin air. Yes, there is a virus, but like we seen from the New York Times, when this is all said and done, it will look like a bad cold. Because what did they do? They created this pandemic out of statistics and fear. Go back to post 4,494. This is June 22nd, 2020. Is this about the virus or the election? Manipulated poll meant to legitimize rigged election results. The election was not rigged. All the polls demonstrated Biden's clear lead across the country. Example, what happens if China successfully duplicates clones selected ballots, battleground states? What happens if coordination exists with select states to deliver printing and paper ballot recipes, secrets to select foreign adversaries. Nothing to lose, logical thinking. Then go to post 4,316. What does this say? Fear not, all will be well right after the election. Is this about the virus? And this is all caps, or the election? When we looked at those graphs, what did we see? We saw it had nothing to do with the virus. It had everything to do with the election, and Q is letting us know that all will be well right after the election. Yes, Trump and the Patriots, they knew their playbook. They knew exactly what they were doing. Now, Biden, he's planning to have a primetime address. And remember, they just can't say, hey, it just disappeared by itself. They needed a cover story. This is why he distributed millions of masks, telling everyone to wear double masks. This is why he's out there pushing the vaccine like crazy. No, he's not going to give credit to Trump or anything like that. They never expected the vaccine to be out until, 3, 4, 5 years later. Trump got it out in 2020. And it stopped them in their tracks. Now they're going to use the cover story that everything that we've been doing, wearing double masks, wearing masks, it all worked. That had nothing to do with it. It was created out of statistics. It was created out of fear. It was created out of a faulty test, which they created to make it seem like everyone had COVID. They were picking up dead RNA. And now they changed the cycles, the number of cycles, and now nobody has it. It's all gone. They created something and they're getting rid of it in the same way. Now, what's very interesting is that we know the deep state, their plan, and remember, there's many different agendas with this. Their plan is to have a global vaccine passport. And slowly but surely, this is how they chip away at people's rights. Without people knowing it, because they use the cover story of, 9/11, we need to make you safe. We need to protect you. So you know what? You're going to have to give up a little bit of your rights. We're going to have to search you. We're going to have to go through your bags in a sporting event, in an amusement park, in an airline checkpoint. So we're allowed to go ahead and violate your rights. Search and seizure. Why? Because it's for your own protection. Now, for your own protection, we need to make sure that you're not sick and you're not going to infect everyone else. So you're going to need some type of passport. Papers, please. We've seen this before. This is an illusion that they create. They're not protecting you. Actually, you're safer when they're not involved. You're safer when they don't infringe on your rights. You're safer without them. With them, you're not safe. Think about Nazi Germany. Go back to World War II. All those people that they rounded up, they said, we're going to make you safer. Just go on these trains. It'll be all right. You're going to be safe. Wear this patch. You'll be safe. Just do what we say. You'll be okay. It's the same exact thing. There's no difference. Now, what's very interesting is that this whole January 6th protest, we know that they created this. We know Antifa was there. We know BLM was there. We know that the Patriots were monitoring all of this. Why do you think during the impeachment trial they didn't want Pelosi testifying? Because she would be under oath, and they would bring up many different things that they didn't want out there. And we've come to learn that John Sullivan and many other people, they were involved in this. An awakened outlaw on Gab put this out. Things are not what they appear. Military veteran 35 charged in Capitol riot had a top secret security clearance to work in Marine One helicopter unit that transported George W. Bush and Obama. You think he was part of this? Yes. Was this pre-planned? Yes. By many of these individuals. Now, what's very interesting is we're seeing Dan Scavino. He's putting out a lot of messages, letting us know that all of this is being built up to something where something is about to happen. Does it mean it's going to happen tomorrow? No. I think there's different phases that we're going to go through. Yes, I think we're going to see Joe Biden. He's going to be removed by the 25th Amendment. Yes, I think Kamala is going to come into play. So we'll have Trump, who's the 45th president. We have Biden, who's the 46th president. When he's removed, Kamala Harris is going to be the 47th president. And then maybe if they bring in Trump, he'll be the 48th president. That's interesting. Where did we see this in a post before? Well, we have. But before we get to all of that, let's go back to Dan Scavino. Remember he put out that video of the moose running across the water? And it was forward and backwards. I think there were many different messages with this. Because Julian Dramon Gab put this out. And there's a moose running on the water. And then Julian looked it up and it says C-17 in a classic moose walk. Now, that is very interesting. These are transportation planes. The C-17, they're very, very large. Does this mean there's an operation about to happen, or there is an operation happening? Now, Dan Scavino, he put out many other tweets, and a lot of these are very interesting. There's one of a fighter jet, a whale, and a football touchdown. So the first one he put out, this is on March 11, 2021, and the time was 6:39, and a jet took off, and then it inverted. So the time was 6:39. If you invert the time, it's 9:36. So you can go to post 9:36, which we'll do in a second. Other people are saying that this is Iron Eagle, or the jet is circling back, which is very interesting because yesterday we mentioned that Richard Grenell, he put out something on Instagram that says, and this is Trump winking at us saying, "I think it is time I circle back." It seems that they're giving us messages that it is time that Trump comes back into the picture. And let's move on to post 936. This is March 10th, 2018. This is a 3-year delta here. And it says the Nazi order, NWO. N does not refer to new. So Nazi world order, the sum of all fears, North Korea, POTUS, hostage, threat, disarm, stage, set, and then down below it says freedom. Is Dan Scavino trying to tell us that the stage is set and it's time for the people to be free again? It's starting to seem that way. And then Dan put out another tweet. This has to do with a boat with a whale next to it. And you could see the size of this whale against this boat, and it looks like they're going to need a bigger boat. So what does this actually mean? So if you look at the timestamp on this, it says 6:30. So if you go to post 6:30, this is January 27, 2018, Q says spooky. And then down below it says set the truth free. And truth free is capitalized. Very interesting. Then we have a video of a football player wearing the number 34, which is Herschel Walker. So if you look at 34 and you look at Herschel Walker, you can start to put all this together. Actually, Trump came out with a statement and he said the following: "Wouldn't it be fantastic if the legendary Herschel Walker ran for the United States Senate in Georgia? He'd be unstoppable, just like he was when he played for the Georgia Bulldogs and in the NFL. He's also a great person. Run, Herschel, run." And this is a video of Herschel Walker making multiple touchdowns. His number was 34. So if you go back to post 34, it seems that Dan is sending us multiple messages here. And this is what it says. November 1st, 2017, we read this before. Q clearance, Patriot. My fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize that we're taking back our country, the land of the free, from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm and destroy the last remaining refuge of a shining light. On POTUS's order, we have initiated certain fail-safes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout, which is slated to occur 11.3 upon the arrest announcement of Mr. Podesta, actionable 11.4. Confirmation to the public of what is occurring will then be revealed and will not be openly accepted. Public riots are being organized in serious numbers in an effort to prevent the arrest and capture of more senior public officials. On POTUS's order, a state of temporary military control will be actioned and special ops carried out. False leaks have been made to retain several within the confines of the United States to prevent extradition and special operator necessity. Rest assured, the safety and well-being of every man, woman, and child of this country is being exhausted in full. However, the atmosphere within the country will unfortunately be divided, as so many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. We will be initiating the Emergency Broadcast System, EMS, during this time in an effort to provide a direct message, avoiding the fake news to all citizens. Organizations and or people that wish to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home and abroad. Now think about all of this stuff that we've been talking about. Devolution. Think about Trump, where he's no longer in the picture. During the pandemic, he set up a system where the military will take control if the civilian government is incapacitated. Read what this post says, and it seems that Dan Scavino is trying to let us know that this is coming a lot sooner than we think. Think about the military lifting some laws to allow them to do their operations. How can they do this? Well, they can, because during this period of time of devolution, they have the ability to declare martial law in certain areas. Trump already set this up. He doesn't have to give the order. He already did. The military already knows what to do. Remember, it will be temporary military control. No, they're not running in to arrest everyone. Yes, arrests are going to be made, but the military, I do believe, is going to be there to control the entire situation and to maintain order while this goes down. Now, what else does this say? They're going to be using the Emergency Broadcast System, EMS. Yes, the mainstream media, the deep state, they're going to try to stop the message from going out. Yes, they're going to have to use this system because of what? A communication blackout. And it seems that they are preparing and they're ready for all of this. And it seems it fits into everything that we've been talking about. Now, what's very interesting is that General Flynn, he put this out on Parler, and this is what he said. In the underreported category, if anyone missed Maria Bartiromo last Sunday, she asked former DNI Ratcliffe at the end of a long interview about Crossfire Hurricane. His response, there was no proper predicate for Crossfire Hurricane to begin. It was a hoax, witch hunt, and a coup attempted against the duly elected POTUS, his administration, and American citizens. Full quote below and link. I reviewed the intelligence with John Durham and Bill Barr last summer. We went over the intelligence and we are all unanimously agreed there was no intelligence from the intelligence community that reflected actual real Russian collusion with the Trump campaign, but there was intelligence there. It was created by the Hillary Clinton campaign, and there was no proper predicate for Crossfire Hurricane to begin. Then General Flynn tweeted this out. This is the other tweet was from the Parler was from March 9th, and this one is from March 8th. It says, trust with a capital T. Be fearless in your beliefs. We know fully now that Russia collusion was all BS. Current occupants of the White House were directly involved in viciously attacking my family and I, President Trump and his family, the presidency, and our country. Be strong and let's fight back. These are the lessons I learned while attending the school of hard knocks. God bless America. It's funny how he started off with trust with a capital T. Trust the plan. And yes, you need to have faith. Have faith in the plan. Yes, it might not seem like it's going the way you want it to go. It might not be happening in the time frame that you want it to happen. But does anything in life actually work that way? Yeah, maybe a couple things. But think about the things that are out of your control. Let's say you want to have a baby. You know the exact date. you're going to get pregnant? Or do you have faith that as you continue to do it, you will get pregnant? If you're trying to sell your house, do you know the exact date you're going to sell the house? No, but you keep it up for sale. Why? Because you believe that if I keep doing this, it will sell. This is what General Flynn is talking about. And I do believe they're sending messages out here to let us know, keep the faith. We're on the right track. This is why Dan Scavino is out there letting us know we're getting closer and closer to bringing down the entire swamp. And yes, we're going to see a lot of things happen. Actually, a lot of the plan that Q has been talking about is now coming true. An investigation against those people that threw people into nursing homes. Look at the virus. Q told us, is this really a virus or is it about the election? As soon as Biden was inaugurated, it just disappeared. No, we can see how they changed everything. And Trump did say, this will just magically disappear by April. And remember, he never said which April. The mainstream media thought he meant April of 2020. He knew the playbook. He knew exactly what they were going to do. Now, what's very interesting is that the U.S. Army, they tweeted out, I am an American soldier. I stand ready to deploy, engage, and destroy the enemies of the United States of America in close combat. And it looks like there's a woman handling a machine gun. And there's a clip that is upside down. And the clip is 255. So Mel Q looked at this and said, well, wait a minute. Upside down mirror. This is post 552. And if you go to post 552, this is January 18th, 2018. It says, storm coming, warning. And I do believe with all these messages from Dan Scavino, and I do believe there's going to be a lot more, they're letting us know they are circling back and they're getting prepared and ready. Remember the tweet? And maybe you don't know this tweet. This was put out by Trump on June 18, 2014. And I do believe that this is going to sum up everything that he's about to do here. And this is what it says. May God have mercy upon my enemies, because I won't. General George S. Patton. And I do believe the Patriots are preparing and getting ready to strike. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.